system which is kind of a missing in his case, that the leads are coming in, or maybe he's not tracking those leads properly to convert them
That's
into
correct. I figure out what is the best performing way to structure the site, etc. All that, which keywords are most effective, all that, which copy is compelling.
Always SEOs, we always think like, hey, picking up one single niche, it might gonna hurdle our overall growth as well.
Attorney was to come to me and say, hey, I'd like for you to do my local SEO. I would turn him down, even if he offered me 3,000.
You recommend the same thing to the SEOs as well, to go into the single niche, because it is super hard to actually say. Hello and welcome to the Agency Growth Lab. I'm your host Rohindu, and today we are thrilled to have a very special guest joining us. Bradley Banner from Semantic Links IO is also a renowned expert in digital marketing, a local SEO coach, and an SEO of course. So Bradley is here today to share his insights and experiences with us. So welcome to the show, Bradley. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me, Rowan. I appreciate it.
No, it's a privilege to have you on the show, man. I've been following, like I said, for quite a while, and I know you're into the game for the past like a decade. So yeah, the things are going pretty good in SEO, and this is gonna be the perfect time to know more from you, like what's Bradley is doing and what the things are really working in SEO since the AI has come through. So yeah.
Sure.
So
Sure.
Bradley, really quickly, I mean, like, can you tell me a bit about your technical background? How did you get started in SEO?
Sure. So I learned SEO, local SEO. That's all I work on is local SEO. And I learned local SEO to learn how to generate leads for my own business. I'm a former electrical contractor. So I had my own electrical contracting company, and I wanted to start generating leads, like new leads for my business. For when I got my contractor's license, I was really a subcontractor for a remodeling company. So they were the ones that were responsible for generating work for my business. And so, when work was slow because they didn't have work, I wanted to generate my own business for my own, generate leads for my own business. And so I started learning how to do search engine optimization in Google to figure out how to generate leads for my own for my own business. And I got pretty good at it. And that was in 2010 is when I really kind of started learning how to generate leads and manipulate Google search. And back then it was called Google Places, not Google Business Profiles like it is now. But this was a long time ago now, about almost 15 years ago. But I got pretty good at it, and I started generating leads for my own business. And then I started generating leads for some other contractors that I worked with in the home services industry. So like plumbers and carpet cleaners and things like that. And so I kind of did both for several years, where I was working my electrical business, but then also kind of on as a side hustle, I was generating leads for other contractors basically. And after about 2 years of doing that, where I was managing both businesses, I got to a point where I said, well, first of all, I was generating leads for home service contractors, and I live in the state of Virginia, and in our area, the winters are extreme enough that the kind of work slows down, construction work slows down in the winter, and so even though I was generating good money from the leads that I was selling to contractors during the winter months, my income would decline significantly because just work slowed down naturally. So it was in 2012 when I decided to open up an agency to where I could offer local SEO services to pretty much any local business, so that I could, under a more traditional kind of retainer-based model, so that I could stabilize my income a little bit more. And and so I launched an agency at the time. It's called Big Bamboo Marketing. I still own that company today. It is my parent LLC. But then, I got into doing local SEO for all different types of businesses. Pretty much any type of business that would even talk to me, I would offer my SEO services to. And over the years, what I learned was that that's an enormous amount of work when you're working in multiple industries, because you have to learn so much about every industry in order to be effective as an SEO. Like, it's one thing to know search engine optimization. It's entirely different to be good at marketing for that industry. And I think that a lot of SEOs think that they're marketers when they're not. They're SEO technicians. There's a big difference between being a marketer and being an SEO. And you can be a marketer and a really good SEO, But I
Yep.
think a lot of people think of themselves as marketers when they're just SEO technicians. And so what I discovered after working with all different types of businesses in different industries was that it requires an enormous amount of work and
Mm.
research and testing and trial and error and everything else to figure out what is really effective for any one industry.
Yep.
And so because of that, like over the years, I think in 2015, I was like, I got tired of trying to learn things that I wasn't interested in, like, working for daycare providers
Oh
or
yeah.
dentists and things like that I had no interest in. I always preferred working with contractors because I'm a former contractor myself. And so I think in 2015, I was like, well, I'm going to niche down to only working with home service contractors. Well, that's not niching down either, because there's so many different types of contractors in
Exactly
the home
right.
services industry
Yep.
that I was just right back to square one, where I was still trying to reinvent the wheel for every new industry.
Yep.
And so finally in 2019, after about 4 years of still struggling with overwhelm from just too much work and just trying to always, trying to
Yep.
do too much for too many people, I finally decided to just select one of the contracting industries that I had that was the most lucrative as far as leads
Yep.
goes, and that was the tree service industry.
Yep.
And
All right.
so in 2019, I really finally niched down. I finally did it to
Yep.
where now I only work with tree service contractors. And so I rebranded my agency as Tree Care HQ, which stands for Tree Care Headquarters. So Tree Care HQ. And once I rebranded as a tree service SEO or lead, well, it's really a tree service marketing company because
Yep.
we do more than just SEO now.
Yep.
Uh, but once I kind of rebranded and really focused in on just going after tree service contractors, it changed everything in my business
Yep.
because I was able to significantly scale my agency up to a much more profitable, a lot more
Yep.
monthly recurring revenue, et cetera. Because once I got the perfect kind of configuration or recipe of site GBP optimization, links, all that stuff, once I dialed it in for a tree service contractor, now all I have to do to scale is duplicate that same system over and over and over again in different locations for new contractors. And so it makes it a hell of a lot easier to scale an agency when you niche down or focus down on only one industry, because you can do all the testing and trial and error needed to figure out what is the best performing
Yep.
configuration as far as websites and GBP and all that kind of stuff. And then once you get it down, then you can scale by just duplicating the same thing over and over and over again. And it
Yes.
significantly cuts down your workload. You're able to create standard operating procedures. You can delegate, automate all kinds of stuff that when you're doing custom proposals for new industries all the time, you can't do that.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so my agency really scaled once I kind of narrowed down to just one particular industry. And now that's all I teach. Whenever I'm teaching local SEOs, I always tell people, pick a damn industry and go deep into that industry. Don't go wide across multiple industries, go deep into one instead.
Yeah, no, it's a super solid point. Actually, the same thing I was going to ask you was like, you did it by interest, but do you recommend the same thing to the SEOs as well to go into the single niche? Because it is super hard to actually say no when a client is knocking your door. Let's say it's a lawyer, $3,000 check is sitting with you, and it's very hard to say no. I can't work with lawyers because like we always SEOs, we always think like, hey, picking up one single niche, it might gonna hurdle our overall growth as well because now we are just going after one single saturated market, probably one single niche only. So in that particular case, we might need to fight with the other tree services, for example, in your case, tree services SEOs, and even at the same time, we need to fight with the local journal niche SEOs as well, who've been catering these kind of clients as well. So don't you really think that the growth graph gonna be slow in that case, or what really gonna work?
No, and I found it's exactly the opposite. And that is
Yeah.
because a couple of reasons. Number one is, like I said, if, like, for example, if an attorney was to come to me and say, "Hey, I'd like for you to do my local SEO," I would
Yeah.
turn him down, even if he offered me $3,000 or $5,000 a month. And the reason why is because I would have the learning curve for learning what is really effective in the a local SEO space for attorneys is going to be high. It's high for any industry, really, but it's going to be even higher for attorneys because it's just so competitive. But the point is, like, I'm not going to be very effective for them initially because it's going to take time to figure out what is the best performing way to structure the site, et cetera, all that, which keywords are most effective, all that, which copy is compelling. Remember, you have to learn two vocabularies too. You got to learn how to talk to the business owner.
Yep.
So in this case, an attorney or a law firm. Then
Yep.
you also have to learn the vocabulary on the consumer level. Like, what are the consumers looking for when they need an attorney or whatever industry they're looking for? And so you have to learn two vocabularies for every industry. And then you have to figure out what is compelling, what converts. You have to, test different site structures and keywords and things like that. And so first of all, the amount of effort and energy that I would have to put into that just to become somewhat effective is
Yep.
going to be a huge, huge mountain to climb that I'm not willing to do. And the other part was, you say, are you narrowing your market by niching down?
Yep.
Well, no, because what I found is that most local SEOs that call themselves agencies or consultants or whatever, is they will talk to anybody that will look in their direction. And by the way, I used to do the same thing.
Yep.
But the problem is that you're never very effective in any one industry because you might be good at SEO, but you don't know their business very well. And so even if you can rank stuff, that doesn't mean that it's going to be effective in improving their revenue or improving their bottom line and generating leads and closing those leads into sales. It's one thing to generate a lead, but it's entirely another to what happens to that leads after it's generated. So here's an example. In the tree service industry, if I talk to 10 tree guys on a phone, or because tree guys don't usually get on Zoom calls, but they'll get on phone calls. And so if I talk to 10 tree guys and I ask a tree guy, hey, what is it that you need most in your business? Pretty much all 10 of them are going to say, I need more leads.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I ask them, and this is part of my sales process. I ask them specifically, okay, you say you need more leads. And you know what? I kind of expected that from you because that's what I hear from most tree contractors that I talk to. So let me ask you something. If you don't mind, walk me through the process of what happens when a lead comes into your business. First of all, does it come in via phone or web form? Do you answer the phone or does it go to voicemail? What happens when it goes to voicemail? How quickly do you return the call? So I asked them questions about what happens when a lead comes in because they just told me that they need leads more than anything else. And so when I asked them to describe the process of what happens when a lead comes in, they start telling me, and as they're telling me about their process, it becomes very apparent, not only to me, because I already knew the answer, but to them, how inefficient their process is for processing that lead. And so the point is by the time they get done telling me about their inefficient process of what they do when a lead comes in, I say to them, so Mr. Contractor, what you're telling me is you don't necessarily actually need more leads in your business. What you need is a better system for processing and managing those leads.
Exactly.
Is that a fair statement? And I nod my head.
The problem is not sitting at the front end, which he can see it as a lead.
Right.
The problem is sitting way behind in the actual system, which is kind of a missing in his case, that the leads are coming in, or maybe he's not tracking those leads properly to convert them into the clients.
That's correct. So in all reality, do you need more SEO to generate more leads when you have a bucket with a big hole in the bottom? So leads come in, but they're falling right back out because they're not following up. They don't have a good system for following up and managing those leads. And so a lot of the times I'll close a tree service contractor, not on leads and SEO, but on helping them have a better follow-up system. And then because I tell them, so listen, of course, we can help you to generate more leads, but do you realize you have a big hole in your lead bucket? So you're dumping leads into the bucket, but they're falling out of the bottom before you get to them. And I said, so why don't we get you set up first with a system that will help you to close more of the existing leads that you're currently getting? And then once you're set up for that, then we can start to also generate more leads for your business. Does that sound like a better avenue? And I'll nod my head and they'll go, yeah, of course, that sounds good. And so to get back to what you were asking, what I found is that most SEOs that only focus in on the SEO side of things, they think that they're responsible for search engine optimization and generating leads. But if the company that they generate the leads for doesn't have a good system, or they don't have somebody answering the phone or whatever, then they're going to blame the SEO. The company is going to blame the SEO for having terrible leads or shitty leads or whatever, when in all reality, it's the business's fault. The SEO did their job. They generated the lead. But the business wasn't able to manage the lead properly. So they're going to blame the SEO for bad leads or whatever else. And so what I found is that by narrowing down, niching down into a particular industry, you start to learn about all the things that that particular business or industry type, the business owner in that industry, the problems that they experience. And it's you usually find very common problems that all of them experience. And the
Yep.
better way to develop an agency, a local marketing agency, is to figure out to build solutions for that specific industry type, because then you can market yourself as a specialist with that one industry. And then people start to, business owners in that industry will start to seek you out instead of you always pushing your services out into the market. It's
Exactly.
a pull, instead of push marketing, it's pull marketing. It brings people to you that say, hey, look, I want this guy to do my SEO and help me optimize my business, not just search engine optimization, but optimize my business, because he specializes, or Tree Care HQ, that agency specializes in helping tree contractors grow their business, not just generate more leads. And so
Exactly.
initially, like what you said, if when you narrow down, there might be a little bit of pain initially, but
You know,
very quickly you get past that and you get to a point where you can scale so much faster because you're more effective. You can charge higher prices. It's easier to close sales. And you end up scaling because, like I mentioned at the top of our call here, whenever you kind of dial in what works for a particular industry type, then you can just duplicate that over and over and over again for each new client. It's just a
exactly.
different location. And that way it's so much easier to scale than trying to go in and reinvent the wheel for every new project.
Exactly right. And the same thing can be happen for the Google ads and the Meta as well, because
Yeah.
you
Yep.
need to go by the different creatives when it go with the Google ads, what kind of like negative keywords I need to check them out. So
That's
these
right.
kind of really going to helpful. Tell me a bit more about your local SEO academy, because that's where you said like you go and train the local SEOs, tell them what the right process is to grow their agencies in a specific niche. Tell me something about that.
Well, what I've been teaching it more recently, and I started developing this about 4 years ago. So in 2019 is when
Yep.
I finally niched down to just working with tree service contractors. And so in 2020, I actually started a directory site for tree service contractors, and it's called treecarehq.com. So treecarehq.com is my directory where it's tree services, landscapers, and excavators. And the only reason why I have landscapers and excavators on the tree service directory site is because some tree service contractors also do landscaping and sometimes land or excavating work. But
Yep.
I don't really target landscapers and excavators. But what I started doing was, so this was back in 2020. So 4 years now, I've been working on this directory process. And for the
Yep.
first 2 years, from 2020 to 2022, I used the directory for prospecting and for marketing and sales. Basically, it was my prospecting machine. So what I do is I go scrape all the contacts using a Google Maps scraper
Yep.
for all the contractors in a particular state, and then I import, once I clean and filter the list and deduplicate
Okay.
it and all that, I import it into the directory.
Yep.
Then I export the directory listings in a CSV file and upload them into a cold emailing app. And I
Okay.
use Instantly for that now, but I used to use High Level, but High Level cold email is not good. So I use Instantly for my cold emailing app now. But we then start contacting contractors using the directory listing as the conversation starter. So we're not approaching them as an SEO or as a marketing agency or as a lead generator. We're not approaching them as that. We're approaching them as a tech specialist with the directory site. And all we're doing with the cold email outreach, it's a 5 email sequence that goes out about one every other day for 10 days. And it basically is saying, we're looking to confirm the information for company name. And then
Okay.
the email just says, hey, this is Bradley with Tree Care HQ. We're looking to confirm your contact information for your free directory listing on the treecarehq.com website. Here's what we have. Please reply back and let us know, is this accurate, or does this need to be updated? And if so, provide the correct data, please.
Okay.
And what happens is when they reply back, now we know that we have direct communication with
Yep.
usually the business owner. In the tree service industry, it's almost always the owner that gets the
Yep.
emails.
Yep.
In other industries, it might go to a receptionist or a gatekeeper or whatever. But in my industry, it goes almost entirely to the owner. And so when they reply back, now we know, and they go automatically into my sales funnel. And I use High Level as my CRM and my sales pipeline and all that. And so when they reply from instant to the cold email outreach, the webhook from Instantly pushes that contact into the contact replied stage that creates a contact on High Level, creates an opportunity card, and that goes into the pipeline.
Yep, yep,
Then that sends a notification to a virtual assistant that then goes in and optimizes that contractor's directory listing, where they'll go in and they'll scrape information from the web. They'll look at their website, their Google business profile, social media, like Facebook page, mainly with Tree Guys, just Facebook pages. But they'll pull all that data in and then optimize the directory listing. And then within about 24 hours, one business day, it's
yep,
done.
yep,
Then once we have and by the way, when the contractor replies to say yes, that information is correct, or no, the phone number needs updated or whatever,
yep.
and they send us that information, the automation sends them an acknowledgement. Hey, thanks for the reply. We've got the information we need now. We're going to contact you within one business day to with the optimized directory listing for you to review. So
Yep.
now we're telling them, hey, thanks for the reply. We're going to email you again tomorrow. That's
Yeah.
basically what we're telling them.
Yeah, starting
And
the loop basically. You're
yeah,
just creating a loop of the emails and a conversation going on with them because
that's
yeah, no.
right. And
Okay.
then when my VA finishes the directory listing, then they go in and add the tag in high level that it's directory completed or listing completed or whatever the tag is, and that starts the automation to send the notification out to the contractor that states, "Hey, we got your directory listing optimized now. We'd like to get on a call with you to review it and make sure you're happy with it before publishing it.
Oh yeah.
Is now a good time for a call?" And basically that goes to a booking link. And if they don't reply or they ask questions, then we will follow up with them. And we go through there's a process where we identify what problems they have with their online presence through that. When my VA is optimizing their directory listing, they find out any gaps that they have, whether it's their website, Google business profile, reviews. It's usually one of those three things that we find. And so we plug them right into a sequence. What we try to book a call where we deliver the listing, because then we want to, the problem agitate solution framework, right? So we always want to identify the problem on the delivery of the directory listing call, that we want to identify a problem and then agitate it, and then
Yep.
tell them that we have the solution. And so
Yeah.
basically we use the directory listing as a conversation starter. And then we're giving them something of value, starting communication with them through the process. And then we transition into, here's your directory listing. Does everything look good? Okay, great. By the way, while we were optimizing your listing, we found these problems. Here's what this is doing for your business, or lack thereof of business.
Yep.
And
Yep.
here's what we can do to help you solve that problem. Are you
Oh
interested?
yeah.
And it's a sales process that works like gangbusters. And so, like I said, I worked on that from the beginning of 2020 to 2022, and then in 2022 I started developing this as a training and marketing process that we teach at Semantic Mastery. Now we call it the Directory Hybrid Agency, because it's really a combination of doing lead generation as well as traditional retainer based marketing, but it's all based around using the directory as the marketing machine.
That's very solid stuff, man. That's actually very solid stuff. And what I'm asking is then because I do have a system in place as where we can go. In fact, in Australia last year, that was just during COVID when we started off working with in the directory model as well. And
Mm-hmm.
we were one of the most prominent actually lead generation guy in Australia at that time for the neurosurgeons. But we were doing it different. We were all focused around selling the premium listings and that kind of thing, because this kind of idea never actually came to my mind that maybe we can take them on a call and we can actually start taking them as a proper agency clients as well.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that was the thing. And then eventually that site actually got hit with the HCU update. So now there is not much traffic, but we do have another system in place at the moment where we can just launch mass page builder kind of a sites in the matter of like 20
Sure.
minutes. So yeah, definitely I really gonna look into that. I'll show you that stuff after the call as well. So
Well,
yeah.
and let me just kind of expand on that briefly, because I have a lot of people that say to me like, "Well, what are you doing with the directory? Like, do you monetize the directory? Do you sell premium listings and all that?" No, you can do all of those things with the directory. I don't. I use the directory specifically as a conversation starter with the business owners in my industry. That is it. But once we upsell them to any kind of retainer based services, then we upgrade their listing to a premium listing where we'll add schema, optimize content, all that kind of stuff. And then, by the way, that directory listing becomes one of the primary link building targets that we use their budget to build links to my directory site because it benefits my directory. Even if they cancel their services with us at some point, we get to
Yeah,
retain all that link equity to my directory. And then I just go in and no follow their links on the
yeah,
directory listing. And my
yeah,
directory site retains the benefit from the backlink and the link equity. So like I
exactly.
said, you can do premium listings, you can sell premium listings, you can, if you can use it to generate leads, the directory, like consumer leads that then you can sell to the contractors or the companies, excuse me.
Yep.
You can build a list, you can sell advertising space, you can do a number of things on a directory, but I use it specifically just for a conversation starter. And then it becomes a primary asset once they become a retainer-based client.
Yep. And moreover, I don't think so. Like, it's really necessary for the people to have a traffic on the directory as well. If there is traffic, that's pretty good. But eventually, for people like who does not have these kind of a tools like Href, SEO, they can't really figure it out properly. Like if the
That's right.
website is getting any kind of traffic or not. But the way we're gonna use that directory, as you said, to represent us in front of them to get those email conversations started, that's the main
That's right.
thing. Is it? Yeah, no, that's pretty solid because I know it's a very common practice that happens. And let's take a hypothetical scenario. Let's say there is someone who's coming to you and saying like, "Hey, Bradley, I have a started agency, but somehow I'm struggling to generate the quality leads from my agency." What's your reply gonna be? What you really gonna go and tell them? Directory could be one thing. Is there anything else you reckon? Or you say like, no, go with this directory approach. It is really going to work for you as well because it has worked for me, like this kind of thing.
Yeah, well, number one, I would tell them select one industry. So
Okay.
that first and foremost, if somebody's struggling to get leads, it's because you're trying to be too many things to too many people and you're not effective in any one of them. And so
Mm.
that's why I always tell people select one industry first and get to know that industry very, very well. And number two, there's kind of, and that's why I call what I call the DHA or directory hybrid agency is there's kind of an approach for somebody that doesn't have confidence yet. See, I'm confident in my abilities as a local SEO and a local marketer.
Yep.
So my conversations with prospects make me, I have more confidence than a lot of my students do. Like, let's just put it that way. And so
Yep.
what I found also from coaching local SEOs over the years now is that a lot of people don't have any confidence in their own abilities. And so I'm sure you're aware if you don't have confidence in the service or products that you're selling,
Yep.
it comes through in everything. Like your prospect that you're talking to on the phone or on a Zoom call, they can sense that lack of confidence.
Exactly.
And no matter what you do, like it just comes through. Like they can smell it almost. And so
Yep.
why I bring this up is because I've been teaching kind of as an evolution to the directory process is for those that lack the confidence in their abilities is to then instead first identify low competition areas for the industry that you've selected
Yep.
and then go out and build local lead gen or what I call LLG. So local lead gen sites that are just organic only assets, because I'm sure everybody here is aware in the United States, especially,
Yep.
it is almost impossible to verify Google business profiles now unless you have an actual valid business location.
Yep.
And so I got away from teaching about using spammed Google business profiles or
Yeah.
fake Google business
Yep.
profiles because that is an unstable business model. And I
Yep.
do not want to teach people to build a business on sand.
Yep.
I want it to be on
Yep.
rock. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And
Yep.
so I started developing the hybrid agency model, which is where, especially for those that lack confidence in their own abilities, and that is to, once you've selected an industry, then start doing the location research, competition and location research to identify low competition areas in that industry. Then
Okay.
go out and build organic only assets that
Yep.
you own and control. Then once they start to rank in just organic, no Google Maps is needed. Once
Okay.
they start to rank, then you prospect to the companies in that area because now you have confidence. You can point to, hey, Mr. Prospect or Ms. Company owner or whatever, look, I've already got a website that is outranking your own website in your own area for your own products and services. I can
Yep.
help you do the same with your business. Would you like to talk? And
Oh
that
yeah.
changes the whole dynamic. And that's why I call it the directory hybrid agency, because the directory is the prospecting tool, but
Yep.
the hybrid is building lead gen assets, organic only lead gen assets first, that then you
Yep.
point to in your sales process. And then you
Yep.
can either monetize those assets, the lead gen assets, by either rank and rent or a pay per lead, or you can just use that as a deal sweetener or a value add-on. If you can sell them on traditional retainer-based services, you can say, by the way, Mr. Prospect, if you sign up for my my SEO marketing services, my marketing services, I will assign this site to your project, no
Oh yeah,
additional charge.
no
And so
worries.
I use, that's why I call it the hybrid agency, because I go out and build lead gen assets in low competition areas. Then I target the companies in that area once it's ranking. I point to that as results in advance. Like, look, I'm already doing well in your area. Would you like me to do the same for you? And if you hire me, I'll assign this site to you and all the leads from it. And
Oh
so
yeah,
it's a great way to for those that don't have any kind of confidence or very little confidence in their own abilities, then this helps them to have confidence because they can see that they can indeed get results in that industry. And by the way, once you have, if they, when selling your services to a local business that has a Google business profile, now you have a Google business profile that you can assign to or connect with that site. And it's going to help it to perform better in map search because the site is doing well in organic search anyways. And you don't
yeah.
have to worry about if the GBP gets suspended or re-verification or anything else. It's a real valid business, so you can get it restated instead of having a lead gen asset where you're likely going to lose it if Google suspends it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you reckon that building out a directory, that could be one of the first thing they can also do. But if not directory, then at least they should go and spot the low population areas, the easy to rank
Correct.
one, create the mini websites to rank for those areas. Is that something you
Correct.
reckon would be the good one? And then once we go and prospect out, and then we can always go and talk to them. Hey, I can work and get a similar kind of results, but to give a kind of a juicy deal, we can tell them, hey, I'm already getting kind of leads to this particular asset, which I can direct all those leads
Mhm.
to your website. It means your phone number would be over there, your lead
That's
form,
right.
and all the leads are coming over there. So it is kind of a kind of ROI. You're gonna see it from the day one signing up with
That's
me.
right.
Yeah,
That's right.
because that's actually a good one. I guess most of people, what they mistaken out is they always feel like, okay, I have to rank my website, my SEO agency websites on the top of Google, for example, like SEO in Baltimore or SEO New York, and then only I can get the leads from my agency. But this hybrid approach is really different because in that case, we are putting in one single time the kind of an effort, and we can actually generate the leads. Eventually, if that person is going away, the website is there to actually cater the different clients as well.
That's right. And here's the
That's
thing, man, about this, that what I like about it is, remember, number one, you're in one industry. And so you're building the lead gen assets that then you can assign to the client when you pitch your services. And when we talked about the directory, I still recommend doing both the lead gen assets and the directory. That's why I call it the DHA, Directory
oh,
Hybrid Agency,
yep,
because the directory, again, is still the prospecting and sales tool. It's the
yes,
marketing machine. Because once you have a local lead gen or LLG site that is ranking in a particular area, the
yep,
best way to contact business owners in that area that I have found is again through that directory outreach, which is you're not approaching them as an SEO or I have leads. Because by the way, in the tree service industry, if I contact a tree service guy and say, hey, I've got leads, they've heard that 5 times this week already. You know what I
oh,
mean? Because they get contacted from people that say, I've got leads all the time. So
yeah,
change the approach. Instead of me approaching them as like, hey, I've got leads, or I'm an SEO, or I'm a marketing agency, it's like, I just want to confirm that I have the accurate information for your
yeah,
company for your
oh,
free
yeah,
directory listing. And that starts the conversation in a non-confrontational way.
yeah,
And then through that, we build a little bit of rapport. And then when we deliver it to them, that's when we transition into like, hey, by the way. And so the point is, like, if you have an LLG site that is ranking on a location, then you use the directory. So you can go into a Google Map scraper, so outscraper.com, for example,
yep,
and you can go into that particular city and
yep,
do tree service city and then
yep,
pull up all the contractors. And let's say there's 40 contractors.
yep,
Now
yep,
you upload them to the directory, you use the directory outreach process to start the conversation. Then you transition to, hey, by the way, I got your directory listing done. Here it is. Any changes needed, let me know. But by the way, I already have a website that is outranking your site in your local area for the same services that you provide. Would you like to talk about how I can do this for you? And that, again, it's just a way to point to, like, the directory is to start the conversation. The LLG site is to point to results in advance, and it's
yep.
used as kind of a sales tool to help close the deal, so to speak.
Yep. And do you think we need some kind of like a proper design funnel for that purpose as well? Or even the conversation via emails can do the task as well.
Well, we do a combination of emails and SMS, and we're also starting to experiment with a little bit of outbound calling as well. We're actually having an AI agent developed that does outbound calling, also voice calls. It's crazy,
Oh, yeah, that's
and it integrates with high levels. So that's what we're working on and having developed right now. But so we do a combination of the emails, SMS, and now, like I said, a little bit of voice calling. But that's because especially with tree guys, like most of the time they're going to want to do phone or SMS more than email. Like we have more conversations with tree guys via SMS and phone than we do via email.
yeah.
So we try to follow up with everything, but we always start the process with just straight up cold emails that we do through instantly.
Yeah. And just a very final question about that directory thing one more time. When you say like outreach, outscraper.com, I know like the output of that particular one, there is kind of a fluff sometimes into that too. So obviously, I guess we need to delete some kind of like a row items for that as well. Then you go
Oh
and
yeah.
individual pages for that one, or do you go and create like 10 best tree services contractors in this area, that kind of pages, like a roundup kind of a pages, which one you normally go with?
We
Because
just do individual listings.
so individual listings in that case is really going to help, I guess, if there is a brand search, isn't it? Because when it comes to like tree services Baltimore, for example, do you think like the individual pages can actually rank in those as well, especially for the
Oh no,
directory?
but well, not the directory pages because we're not optimizing for that. We're
Yes,
optimizing for their brand.
for
And
the
so
brand.
the
Yeah.
directory pages should rank for a brand search, and that's it. So remember, the directory is we're not looking to rank the directory. I mean, you can do that too, by the way. You
Oh
could
yeah.
do like what you're saying, top 10 tree service contractors in Baltimore, and then try to rank that page for sure. But
Yes.
I mean, and again, that's just not something that I do because I use the directory for specifically just to start conversations, and that's it.
Gotcha. I got it. And just another thing is franchisee model, because when you're working with the tree services, these kind of clients, have you ever think of actually creating a franchisee model as well to get on the people on board and start selling them a proper franchisee in that way as well? Just
I had not thought of that.
just a
I
random
had
thought
not.
came to my mind.
Mm-mm.
All right.
I hadn't thought about
Uh,
that. We're still developing. Like I said, I hired a company called AIanswer.us. They're
oh yeah.
really, really good, but they're developing an AI agent that does SMS and email, and then now, like I said, outbound voice calls. They can take inbound voice calls and also do outbound voice calls, and it integrates with high level. And so we're having an agent that's taking over. Like we've got a lot of automations built in the high level that manage a lot of this stuff, but there's still a manual component to
Oh
be able
yeah.
to figure out what the prospect said and to tag them properly so that they go into the appropriate automation and all that. But the AI agent is proving to be able to do that on their own. Like we're still fine tuning it, but it's significantly giving us the ability to scale our prospecting.
Oh
Because
yeah.
whereas before we could only manage like 3 or 4 leads on a given day, like direct tree service contractor leads for our
Yeah.
agency, because there was a manual component. Now with the AI agent, there's no limit. She can do any number. We call her Scarlett because she's got the voice like Scarlett Johansson. But so we call our AI agent Scarlett. But Scarlett can manage any number of leads simultaneously. And
Yeah.
so we're still working on kind of the second function of the AI agent right now. But as soon as that's developed, we won't actually have to have any direct communication, either me or my salesperson, with the tree contractor until the directory listing has been delivered and they've agreed to get onto a call because we identified some problem with their online presence, whether it's their website, Google business profile, or reviews. Those are our 3 front end services that we use to pitch our services.
Yep. And when it comes to all this, setting up a proper sales systems for them, like having all those AI assistants, how to build out the kind of an automations inside Go High Level, is that something you teach to the people in your directory
Yes.
approach as well?
Yep, that's what we call the directory hybrid agency program, the training program, which right now we've got phase 1 is where it's building the prospecting machine. So that's the directory,
Yep.
the emailing app, integrating everything, setting up the webhooks, the pipeline, processing the leads when they come in. All of that is part of phase 1. Phase 2 is sales and fulfillment. And that is phase 2 is that's what we're developing that AI agent for phase 2 right now. So we hope to start phase 2 in about 5 or 6 weeks from today. And then we've got phase three, which phase three is about scaling through automation, delegation, and building the organizational structure so that we, like meaning you and I, can step out of the business, but have the business still run itself. So the goal is
Oh,
to build a fully functional agency that operates in one particular industry that
yes.
we, the whole goal of the DHA program is to build a agency with an exit plan right from the start. Like,
Oh,
in other
yeah.
words, if you build an agency in one particular industry with proven products or deliverables that are systematized so that they can be largely automated or delegated through standard operating procedures, now
Yes.
you've got a saleable agency that you can sell because it's attractive. Because, so it's almost like what you said with the franchise model. It's very similar in that we can build this agency up, but the goal is to have an exit strategy. Once
Yep.
we get it up to, like, 100K per month in recurring revenue, keep that at that level for 2 years, you can sell that agency for 5 million. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, for sure, man. No, that's pretty awesome, actually. And just a very final question is for, okay, let's talk a little about the technical SEO as well. So let's say there is a hypothetical scenario like there is a grid map, like a 1313 grid map, let's say, and we have already captured out the middle positions. How do you guys actually go about the capturing out the neighboring areas for that one? Is it something you recommend to create different listings? Or is it just creating a geo signals? Because what I'm asking is because I know like you're kind of a guru in this Google stacks and that kind of properties as well. So tell us a bit about that too. What's Brett's way of ranking the 13 by 13 grid?
Yeah, so I'm sure you and your audience are very aware. It's Google's gone hyper local, so GBPs are, the amount of maps coverage area that they receive is a lot smaller now than it used to be. It's
Yep.
become a lot narrower because it becomes more and more hyper local. Localized searches become more hyper local. Google's
Yep.
made it that way. So what I always recommend is, first of all, building out supporting location pages for whatever the GBP, whatever the service area is that's defined by the GBP.
Yep.
Usually that's going to be much broader and bigger than where it's actually ever going to rank. Most, like,
Yep.
for example, tree service guys usually cover a very, very large service area, but their GBP is never going to cover that whole area because it's just the way the Google business profiles appear in search. Google's not going to let that one GBP show up in the top three for that large service area.
Service
So what I
area.
always recommend doing is using something like the easylocal.com map radius tool or something like that, and selecting where the GBP is physically located, and in doing something that's reasonable for that area, because
Yep.
obviously the more densely populated an area, the less coverage it's going to get. So the less
Point.
proximity the GBP is going to cover.
Yep.
So what I would recommend is, if it's a rural area, you can get very, very broad air coverage. But so, like, let's say it's a suburb, which is most of the contractors that I work with are in suburbs. And
Yep.
so in the suburbs, I might say, let's start with a 4 mile radius or a 3 mile radius or something like that.
Yep.
And then we collect all of the town or city names within that 3 or 4 mile radius that have their
Yep.
own zip code. And we build out supporting location pages for each one of those. Then on each one of those town pages, then we add in like neighborhood information that was, so geo-relevance data, that's what I call it, geo-relevance data from that we can extract oftentimes from Wikipedia or from Google
Yep.
searches. We can find out what Google knows about that particular city as far as areas, districts, neighborhoods, etc. We
Yep.
reference all that in the location page and we build all that into the site. And then through the GBP, we want to make sure that we're reinforcing that data. And so that would be Google Business Post linking to those location pages, uploading photos that were taken in those locations. And so I always try to train my tree service contractors, and not all of them do it, but I try to train my tree contractors. Hey, when you're out on a job, snap 3 to 5 photos with your phone and
Oh, yeah.
upload them directly to the Google Maps profile, because that starts to train Google that they indeed do those services in those areas.
Those areas. Yes.
Mentioning things like in the Google Business Post about particular neighborhoods, like the neighborhood name in the Google Business Post, responding to reviews with review replies mentioning specific locations or areas within the review replies. That makes that GBP more relevant for those areas. And I guarantee about 95, if not 100% of all the other competitors aren't doing that.
Not
And so
doing
if tree contractors, and I've got some tree contractors, and I hate to say this, but it's true. I've got some tree contractors that I've trained how to do that very well with images, so photos and videos and Google Business Posts and review replies, that because they do that so well, they ended up canceling SEO services with me, and they still rank 2 years later because they're training Google with the proper signals
Yes.
that they indeed do those kind, and none of their other competitors are doing it. And so sometimes I've trained my tree guys to do so well that they don't even need me anymore.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Solid
but
stuff.
yeah, there's a number of ways to expand proximity, but there's always going to be that threshold where you just sometimes through sheer brute force, you can push a map into an area that it's not supposed to be ranking in, but
Yep.
it's always very fleeting. Like, in other words, it's very difficult to maintain that. Even if you're able to get it there, it's likely
Yep.
going to be pulled back very quickly by Google. So, what I always recommend to my clients is like, look, we're going to find out over the next couple of months how far out we can push this map. But
Yep.
once we kind of identify that invisible barrier where it's just not, Google doesn't want to push it any further,
Yep.
then the only way to kind of overcome that is to secure another Google business profile in the next area. And so, and I advise my clients that that's the best we can do. Otherwise, we can focus in on organic and Google ads outside of that maps area.
Yeah. Now that's super solid stuff, man. Last 50 minutes, that was like super packed with the information, I would say. And I've done nearly like 50 podcasts. I guess this one was really good. I thought like I'm gonna talk
Awesome.
about SEO, but we get so much depth into the client intake and the agency model itself. Like I thought like we should go more into this. So definitely I'm gonna touch base with you in the future again, because there is definitely a lot more I can talk with you
Oh, I'd
on
love to, man.
in
By the
AI.
way, and just so you know, I've been doing local SEO for 15 years and I've been teaching it for 10. But the problem that I see with the local SEO space is people come into the local SEO space and think that all I have to do is learn how to rank stuff and I'm going to make it. I'll be financially free. But there is so much more that goes into monetizing an SEO business than just knowing how to rank stuff.
Yep.
And so what I find is there's a lot of people that have some, fairly decent skills at SEO, but they're not making any money because they don't know how to sell it. They don't know how to manage a business. They don't know how to generate leads to then
Yes.
sell SEO services to. And so I found that like what I want to teach is really like how to help people not only get better at SEO, but how to build a real business from that skill. And so
Yes.
that's why like I'm really into helping people. Like I learned how to sell SEO services. I've gotten pretty damn good at selling SEO services, and it's just because I finally got over my fear of selling and
Oh yeah.
started practicing. And I spent 2 years like studying sales and practicing what I was learning to get really good at sales. And I've gotten way better at that. And I know because I was in the SEO industry for many years where I tried to avoid sales at all possible. If at all possible, I tried to avoid direct sales. I tried to sell via email and everything else. And what I found is, once you understand an industry and you have confidence in your solutions, it's so much easier to sell.
You'll
But then
sell.
you got to generate the leads, and that's what matters. And that's where, again, coming back to the whole directory hybrid agency model, is the directory generates the leads for you to start booking sales calls so that you can dial the sales process in and become confident in your selling ability. And then over time in that one industry, you will get very, very good to where your closing rate goes through the roof. And so
Yep.
that's kind of what I've been trying to teach more recently, is a combination of SEO skill plus marketing and sales.
Yeah, no, and a lot of time actually when I talk to the guys, even in India, even in a few other country outside the United States, they feel like it is really very hard for them to actually go and sell it out in United States. Maybe it's a culture difference, or maybe something else, and they feel it like the geographical location is the most important thing when it comes out to sell the services directly to the business owners, like a B2C in is. Do you think like this AI assistant thing, the one AI answer.us, or these kind of things has actually made their task easy to sell it out to a people like in United States or abroad as well?
The jury is still out on that because we're still developing the app.
Yep.
So I don't have enough kind of historical data from that yet to have anything of statistical relevance or significance, I should say.
Yep.
So I can't answer that yet. My assumption is yes, it would certainly help because the AI can, when the model's trained properly, it can answer questions. It can, and it can be done without the accent, perhaps, that if they're in a different
Alright.
geography,
Yeah.
they have a different accent that could mess up a sale, etc. So my assumption is, yeah, that I think AI has opened up a lot of opportunities for us, that and for people in remote areas like you just mentioned. But as far as, like I said, my current agent that we're working with and to have it developed and all that, it's not fully production, it's not in full production mode yet. So we're still testing with it and everything else, but I have a lot of high hopes for it. I've invested quite a bit of money in having that developed, and because it's a custom development, but I believe that it's going to be very beneficial for my agency to be able to scale significantly more. If that makes
Yeah.
sense.
That makes sense actually. All right. Now, and in the chat box, would that be possible to just type it out the hybrid model URL so that I can put it in the description as well for the people if they want to check it out?
Sure. This is actually the kind of I'm going to put this in chat. This is a Google Doc link.
Oh
So
yeah.
this is you can add it to a shortener or whatever to make it prettier.
Right.
But this right here is actually the DHA program. Like that is
Okay.
the synopsis of the phase one, which is building the marketing and prospecting machine.
Yep.
The directory instantly integrating with high level, all of that. That's the whole phase one program. And right
Yep.
there is the full details on it.
Yep.
But yeah, you're welcome to link to that if you wanted, and then certainly if anybody comes through from you, I'll let you know, and I'll compensate you some way or somehow.
Yeah. So when you say phase one, so I guess there is something as a phase two, phase three kind of an approach
Yeah,
as well. So what is
yeah,
going to be covered in the phase two, and is it already yet, or you have something going on in the future plans as well for phase two?
yeah. So this I mentioned this earlier. Phase two is the sales and fulfillment. So phase one is building the marketing machine, the prospecting and marketing machine,
Yep.
which is the directory, high level, all that. Then phase two is sales and fulfillment. So that's what is currently in progress now because the AI agent is taking over part of that right now. So
Yep.
phase two should be available in 5 or 6 weeks from now,
Oh, yeah.
actually, is when we're going
Good.
to launch phase two because we've already had one phase one group go through that have graduated. And so
Yep.
they're actually waiting right now to start phase two as soon as I launch it.
Yeah.
We're just starting the next phase one group actually starts next Tuesday on the 27th.
Oh, yeah.
But so every 3 months we do the phase one again with a new group. And then the graduates from phase one that want to go to phase two, that's about sales and fulfillment. That's where I teach them how to sell the services. And there's again 3 front end services that we're teaching. LLG sites, which are the local lead gen sites, Google Business Basic SEO, and then reviews. And all 3 of those are accomplished through high level. And so those are the 3 front end services that we're pitching when we sell through the directory process. And then phase three is about automation, delegation, and building organizational structure so that
Yes.
you can remove yourself from the business and have it still operate as an agency.
All right. So, but you said like phase two and phase three is
Yes, each one of those are 6 weeks. Phase two, like I said, will start in about 6 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks from today. And that'll be a 6 week program. And then phase three is also a 6 week program. That one is still in development. I don't know when we're going to launch that yet. So my next goal is to get phase two launched, which, like I said, should be in 5 or 6 weeks.
Oh yeah, oh, that's super cool, man. And is there anyone who wants to know more about your stuff? What does the Bradley do? What kind of things I can learn it from him? What's the best places? Is that LinkedIn? Is that YouTube or any
Yeah, I
blog?
would say YouTube probably. We have our Hump Day Hangouts, which is our weekly Q&A webinar that we've been doing for almost 10 years. We're at like episode 510 or 511 this week.
Oh
So
yeah.
we've been doing this for almost 10 years. But our Hump Day Hangouts, if somebody just goes to YouTube and searches for Semantic Mastery, they'll see that our YouTube channel's got over 4,000 videos about local SEO. And that in our Hump Day Hangouts, we do every single Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, and it's a free Q&A webinar where anybody can come ask questions about local SEO
Yep.
or
No worries.
running an agency or whatever. And it's 100% free.
All right. No, for sure, man. I'm gonna put it out. All those links in the video description once it goes live.
Sure.
All
Sure.
right.
And in fact, let me give you that I'll give you a redirect URL for Hump Day Hangouts because this is where somebody can go to watch the most current replay as well as post questions
That would
that then I will answer on the next call. And that's going to be this one here. So I'm going to put this in chat for you. So that link right there, it's also cool. One of the AI companies that we've been working with developed an AI Bradley, where basically
okay.
they took all of my YouTube content for about 8 years and they developed or trained a model. And so somebody can go on that page that I just showed and ask a question, and they will get the reply back from answers that I've added to YouTube videos. So it's really cool because people can actually get answers that would be coming like they were coming from me. So
Oh yeah. That's super cool. That's now thanks, Bradley. Thanks a lot for all that wisdom and knowledge which you have shared with us. And It is really going to be very helpful. Definitely, I'm going to use it for my business as well, because there's a lot of things I learned which was kind of a new for me as well, been after like 10, 12 years in the industry. But now it's really solid stuff. And
Well, thanks, man. I
yeah,
appreciate that.
I wish you all the luck for all the future endeavors as well, Mike.
Well, thanks,
And
Rowan, and I'm happy to come see you again, and maybe have you come on as a guest host for Hump Day Hangouts one week.
oh, for sure, sir. For sure. That would be a privilege to for that is. I'll circle back with you anyways for this one too.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
man.
Thanks. Bye-bye.